Hi, welcome to Coffee with Carrie. Here's your host, Carrie Lazat.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me in Coffee with Carrie. This is the show. I'm talking to you from my desk in Bloomfield Township, where I get to talk to people in our community who help make things run here and help make us a community. So I would like to start by thanking first I'm going to thank the DPW, because there were people just a second ago outside my window who were taking care of all the fallen leaves. And so they've stopped for the next half hour so we can have a clean recording. So first I'll do a shout out to them for doing that. And then I'd also like to thank our sponsor, White Pine Coffee, who provides coffee for the show, and I will make coffee for you. So I invite you in. Please come in and see us. White Pine Coffee, they've kind of ruined all other coffee for me. They're so good. And I do invite you in to join me here in the studio. So just stop by. You can make an appointment because I want to hear from you. And the studio is your community resource. So I'm doing what I can with my team here to make it even better as we move into the future with different platforms. And this is one of the things that we're trying, a little something new. Without further ado, I have a special guest today, our Township Clerk, Martin Brook. Welcome, Martin.
Good morning, Carrie.
Hi. How are you? What's going on? Anything happening these days?
Well, elections day and night. We're getting ready here. It's sort of like running a month-long marathon, and then we do a day-long sprint.
Have you actually run a marathon? Have you run a marathon?
Actually, I cannot.
You know, I've done two, and I was very slow. But I get what you're saying.
It's like a marathon.
Yes, it is. It is. Well, especially the training and everything. So before we talk about the election, let's talk a little bit about what is a clerk, township clerk in our case, and how did you end up in this job? What did you do on your way here, and what's your story?
Okay, well, this is probably, I guess when I look at it, it's probably my third career. I went to Michigan State. I left there with a master's in HR, and I worked in the human resources area for a little while. And then afterwards, decided I was going to become a lawyer. I went to law school. I went to Michigan. So yes, I do root for both schools. And I practiced law for 25 years in Michigan. And I ran for election for this position in 2020, when I was elected, which was a very great thing. I'm so happy to be doing this. It became really my third career. I resigned my position as a partner at a law firm in Birmingham, and I dedicate myself to working on behalf of the residents of Bloomfield Township to do all the clerky type things.
So, what would make you, was there a moment in time where you're like, I'm going to be the township, I want to be the township clerk, I like what they do? Or was it you were kind of, what was the moment that you decided to change jobs, I guess?
Well, it's a combination of two things. One is a desire to be fully engaged in public service. I previously had been engaged in public service for Bloomfield. I was on the Bloomfield Hills School Board for just short of 6 years. I served as school board president as well. I really think that public service is critical. The other part of that is local government is where it's at. Whether it's school boards or library boards or township boards, this is where government is delivering the services that people really value and need. And we need efficient, drama-free government that's getting the job done for our residents. So I really value that and wanted to contribute in a full-time capacity, not just as a school board is more of a volunteer thing while you do in your other career. And then the clerk role, look, all eyes are on elections. I think democracy is the founding principle of our country, and chose to run for this position really for that reason. One of the primary tasks of the clerk is to conduct elections in the township, and they're just that important.
So what is like a regular, I want to ask you what a regular work day is like, or a work week, but I know things really change at this time of year. We're ramping up to elections. So can you describe for me what's going on in the township right now in order to, election, it is underway, So can you talk about a little bit about the process and what you have to manage?
Well, we're focusing right now like a laser on elections. There are other things, of course, we're doing at the same time. So we have obligations concerning the Township Board of Trustees and being the secretary to the board. But let me focus on elections. We had the primary in August, and we had about 2 weeks sort of to recover from that and started really rolling into preparing for November. And the August elections we started preparing for in May. So since May, we've been thinking about and focusing on elections on top of our other activities. In preparation, as we all know, there's a lot of absentee ballot voting that goes on in the township. We issued about 10,000 ballots at the very beginning of October. We've received a little over 50% of those back. And look, if you're listening and you haven't sent me back your ballot, I mean, do so now. Don't delay. Send me your absentee ballot today. We really do need them. There's a lot of processing that has to occur before it goes to the counting board on election day. We also trained 200 people.
I'm interested. So like if someone drops off their ballot today, what happens to it?
Well, a couple of things. We have a chain of custody document. So we are tracking where it's picked up from. And we double check that. So I may empty the box on the street side. I bring it in, count them, receive them, and then indicate to another staff member to double check that. So we make sure we've got the right numbers. And then we have to process them. So that involves reviewing the signatures and ensuring that they match, and organizing them by precinct, because we count absentee ballots by precinct, and getting them ready for election day. They're also locked securely. When we are not present at the end of the day, they are locked in locked cabinets in my office, which is behind a locked door, which is behind the locked building with an alarm system. And the numbers so far, I mean, we've got about 1/3 come back in the mail, 1/3 are dropped off in the lobby drop box, and the other 1/3 come through the counter or through our drive-up drop box, which is brand new this year. By the way.
Let's show. So we can just talk over this video as it plays.
Great.
I don't know if you can hear it or not. I tried to turn, let's see if I can turn the volume all the way down. Here we go. There we go. So we just want to make sure that people know where this drive-up Dropbox is and that it's new this year, right? And so why drive-up Dropbox? Why is this a good thing?
Well, I'm committed to both accessible elections and secure elections, and I don't believe those are mutually exclusive things. We can do both at the same time. This drop box, which will hold over 700 ballots, was put in place just in the end of September, and we've had almost 1,000 ballots dropped off in that drop box so far this year. So people are finding it and starting to use it.
Well, I know I just ran into somebody in the lobby when I was going over to see the supervisor, and he hadn't seen the signs, and he was on his way in with his, and he was really excited to make sure that he's like, is that going to be there all the time now? Yes, it will be there all the time. So this is now permanent. And there are also, I think you saw some behind the scenes. There's always eyes on that Dropbox to make sure it is secure. Yeah, and
Absolutely.
Here we are. Yeah, and this is where our inside Dropbox is as well, that we're taking a look at right now.
Correct. That's open 24 hours a day, the inside drop box and in the vestibule. And then our office at the counter is another Dropbox spot.
Yeah. Did you guys have a lot of traffic over the weekend? I know you had special hours.
Yes, we were, again, to make sure we're as available as possible for people to vote. We were open Friday and Saturday, not required by law, but we want to be here. We had about 100 people show up over the weekend, Friday and Saturday, and obtain an absentee ballot and cast the ballot. And then a couple dozen other types of questions to the clerk's office.
There are people watching right now. So if there's any of you that would like to say hello to Martin or myself, or if you have a question for us, you can ask it live. You just type it into the comments under where the video is playing for you, and then we can put it on screen. So
yeah, I want to do a shout out to the clerk's office staff who are working like crazy to get elections done and still do all of our other tasks. Mm-hmm. Several of them, I think, are outside listening of my office there, and we have a great time doing what we do. Everybody here really loves, is involved because of how important elections are and likes public service. So It's a great team, important work, but nothing, but fun doing it too.
So how many can you talk about, like, so you get volunteers, or they're paid positions to help out with the election. Can you tell us how many people end up working to help support the process for us?
Well, there's roughly 15 people that come in and work for the 1 month prior to elections to help organize all the absentee ballots. And on any given day, we may have 10 people in here processing issuing ballots and receiving ballots. And then another 200 people are trained to work on election day in the precincts and in the absentee voting counting board. And almost all of them are township residents. You do not have to be a township resident; you just have to be a registered voter in Michigan. So a couple people who live in neighboring communities decide to come here and help us out, and about 200 of them in total. And they were all during the past month trained. We do that before every election, provide training to each of the members who do this kind of work, and they're paid. But no one does it for the money.
Right.
They do it for contribution to our community. They do it for democracy. They do it to help their friends.
Oh, look. Hello, Christine. She says, agreed. A great team and a great team leader. Thank you, Christine, for saying hello. Christine runs our senior center.
She does.
She did Coffee with Carrie a couple weeks ago. So
yes, she's amazing. She's been dedicated to that, to the senior center and service to seniors since the senior center was part of the Bloomfield School District when I first met her in the early 2000s.
And are you doing something different in the senior center with elections than's been done in the past?
Well, yes, the senior staff and my staff coordinate to hold the absentee voting counting board in the senior center. The senior center is closed that day because, again, the absentee voting counting board is sequestered. Nobody else can have access to the ballots.
Yeah.
And it's also the location of a precinct. So we really do rely on them. And by the way, I mean, there really is not, every single department contributes to the elections here. It is not just a clerk function. So the senior center is helping out in their way. IT is a critical player. I mean, the list goes on and on. Well,
we made a few PSAs, right, about the various things.
Yes.
So
and there's a precinct in your office there too.
Yes.
So thank you, Cable, and your team for all the help to make Bloomfield elections possible.
How does one become one of these volunteers? It's too late this year, right, to be a volunteer? Yeah.
It is. We're already staffed. Everybody's trained. We're ready to go. We overstaffed because people still are getting COVID and calling. I've asked people, look, if you're sick, don't come.
Right.
We're staffed sufficiently to cover this. So we had probably 6+ people had to drop out the weekend before the election in August. We may have some of that this year, but we're ready. We're staffed. Everybody's trained. And we're just now preparing all of our last minute materials, and very busy still receiving absentee ballots because we've issued almost 14,000 of them. We want half of them back. So come on, everybody, send your absentee ballots back. We're ready to process them and get them counted on election day.
So tell us a little bit more about those stats, because I feel like we're pretty good voters here in Bloomfield Township. As far as you sent out that many absentee ballots, how many people do you expect to vote, and what percentage of the community is that?
Okay, well, we'll normally get back, let's just start with the absentee area. We'll normally get back 90% of these and process them as absentee ballots. Additional folks may choose to vote in the precinct. So even though we've sent them an absentee ballot, it is possible to vote in the precinct. We have very high turnouts in this township, always have. And we are reputed statewide as one of the locations that has the highest turnout, election after election. We have one of the highest turnouts in the state.
That's great.
My goal, by the way, is to even better. I want everybody who can be registered to be registered, and everybody who's registered to vote. It's a high goal, but look, we need everybody involved.
Yeah. So what happens if I did my absentee ballot and now I've changed my mind? So what am I stuck with? Am I just stuck with my choice, or can I make a change?
No, if you've not submitted it yet, you can spoil the ballot by completing a form and signing it and returning it to us. We can remotely spoil that ballot and issue a new one over the mail. If you sent it in already, you can call us, fill out the spoiled ballot, and we can issue a new AV ballot if you want to change your mind. The deadline to spoil a ballot you have sent to us is Friday.
Okay. Friday.
I think it's
This
4
Friday?
o'clock. This Friday.
This Friday. Okay.
Yes.
And if you have questions, I just put the number up there. That's the number to the clerk's office and the email in case you have any questions related to the election. Or, if there's questions you have in general, I guess you could call the clerk's office. I don't know if they can answer them or not.
We're almost like the switchboard here. A lot of people will choose the clerk's office as the default location, and our staff is happy to help guide them to where they need to go.
Sure. So tell me, when it's not election season, what else are you and your team up to?
I came from the private sector. I've worked in companies and law firms my entire life. And the best comparison I can give it is, there are 3 elected officials that dedicate essentially full time to operating this $100 million business, which is Bloomfield Township. The supervisor, the treasurer, and the clerk. The best comparison I can give is the supervisor is like the chief operating officer, the treasurer is like the CFO, and the clerk is sort of like the chief administrative officer. We're handling a lot of the back office work. We're secretary to the board. We're keeper of all the records, accounting responsibilities, those kinds of things that are in the back office operations of this business. Is what the clerk and my staff are here responsible to do.
And I think you do a couple things that maybe other cities and townships don't do, right? Like the passports. That's one of the things that we do?
We do a lot of passports, and many clerk's offices are doing the same these days. That passports have become a common thing. It's not required. It's kind of an extra community service that clerks do. We introduced last year a do not knock registry for people who would prefer that door-to-door salespersons don't knock on their door. That was new from last year. And there's a great number of people that sign up. Actually, we learned that the solicitors like these lists too, because it helps them be more selective in their time. But yes, it's a customer service business. Absolutely. We're doing passports, notaries, solicitations. We're assisting with managing licenses and permits. Many licenses and permits happen through my office.
So do you have a vacation scheduled for like November 9th? Or when is it? When does the work doesn't stop on November 8th, right? The work continues. So when do you take some time off?
We are sort of ready to go until the county board of canvassers will solidify these numbers. That'll happen before Thanksgiving, and then the state board of canvassers will finalize the election results. That happens also before Thanksgiving. That's really the key time. After election, we're still completing materials. We're answering questions from the Oakland County Board of Canvassers about our materials, if there are any. So are other clerks, because they check over the processes, ensure that everything was handled appropriately before they certify it here in Oakland County. And if there's a recount that happens, in that late November, December timeframe. So actually, I have a vacation, but it's not planned until January.
Okay.
Just to see, who knows what'll happen. I'll be here.
You're right. Well, at least we have Thanksgiving to look forward to. One of my favorite times of year. Right.
Me too.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share? I have something I haven't asked you about today that you'd like to tell people.
I'm going to say it again. If you've got an absentee ballot, I need you to return it right away. We're here ready. You can drive up. You can come in that drop box, leave it in my office. But look, democracy is really important, and any vote is a terrible thing to waste. We want to see you out here voting and getting your votes into the township as soon as possible. If you've got any questions about elections or about the intricacies of filling out the ballot, we're happy to help answer questions about straight ticket voting or split voting or any of those kinds of things. So,
well, great. Martin, I thank you for joining me today. It's a beautiful day here in Bloomfield Township, so it's a great time to go for a walk, get in your car, and drop off your absentee ballot if you have that. And for those of you that are watching on our cable station, you can watch online. We're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube, and we also put this out on our broadcast. And so in 2 weeks, I'll be talking to Tara Moon, who is the director of our beautiful library here in Bloomfield Township, and she'll let us know what's going on there.
It is. That library is a treasure. Wonderful
It sure
place.
is. Yep, it is one of the best, really, anywhere. We're so lucky to have it.
Yes,
So.
yes, it is. Thank you, Carrie. This was painless.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again to my sponsor, White Pine Coffee, and please stop by and have a coffee. And we'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks for joining us.